Hey guys, I know it's not typical for us to have a devotion on Monday, but this is Holy Week, and I feel like we should be spending more time with Jesus. This is a time when he knew that he was not going to be here long, so the things that he was doing was very intentional and very important. And we can learn a lot about him by studying him this week. Yesterday we learned from Pastor Hall about Palm Sunday, and today is Holy Monday. Uh, in John, it talks about what they did on Holy Monday. They started off their day, they got up and they were walking into Jerusalem, and Jesus was hungry and he saw a fig tree and walked over to it. And once he got there, he realized there were nothing but leaves on that fig tree, and he cursed the fig tree. He says, "Let nobody ever eat of the fruit of this tree again." And he didn't curse all fig trees, just that one. And then they went into town and went to the temple courts. And as soon as he got there, he was tossing over tables and running people out of the church because they had turned the temple courts into a marketplace. And he said, "Isn't this place supposed to be a place of prayer? And you've turned it into a den of thieves." They turned someplace sacred into some place of profit. So Jesus was kind of having a tough day. And the fig tree really was not all that important. But let's kind of go through what happened. Just these two events, Jesus walks up to this tree and he was thinking about figs, but he's a patient person. He's really patient, and typically he'd walk up to this tree and he'd say, "Oh yeah, it's not fig season. I'll just wait till they're in season and then no big deal." But he's already knows that he's not going to be around for very long, so he knows when he walks up to this tree and there's no fruit on it, that he's not going to have another opportunity to have a fig, which is understandable. We have things that we like, and he had things that he liked while he was here, and I'm sure the fruit in heaven is much better than the fruit here, but still the human part of him wanted something sweet. And then he goes into his father's house and people are disrespecting it, so he's upset. But I don't really think he's upset in the way that you and I would be upset. I think he's upset because he's realizing that he's doing ministry and he has limited time left, and yet we needed so much more instruction. And he's frustrated, but he's not frustrated. I don't think he's frustrated with the fact that they were disrespecting his father's house. He was frustrated because he didn't have enough time to do all the things that he needed to do before it was time for him to move on. So he was having a tough Monday, but something great happened on Holy Monday. This is the day that Mary washed his feet. And he sat down and she came over and got on her hands and knees and washed his feet. And then she poured perfume all over his feet. And Judas, of course, right away, Judas says, "What a waste. We could have sold that perfume and given it to the poor." But Jesus' response was, "No, it was not a waste." Those poor people, there will always be poor people, but you always be poor people, but you will only have me for a few more days. He's recognizing the sacrifice and the servanthood that Mary performed. Mary washed his feet, which to you and I seems like something that we wouldn't do for anybody or very few people. She did servant's work. And then on top of that, she poured her prized possession over his feet. That perfume was worth a year's salary. I imagine it was something that she kept hidden in a corner and she guarded with her life because it was worth a lot of money. It was very valuable. And she just poured it on his feet. And Jesus recognized that and recognized the sacrifice and recognized the gift that it was, as he always did. But more than that, he was telling Judas that you can't outgive God. You could give God a year's salary and it's not too much. You could give him a year to the church and it's not too much. You could give your life for missions and it's still not too much. This is all great, and I really love knowing what the events of the days are leading up to resurrection. But we really need to apply this to our lives. This week, we should be washing the feet of Jesus. I know we can't literally wash the feet of Jesus because he's not physically in front of us. But Matthew 25:40 says, whatever you do to the least of these, you do unto me, which means whatever you do to someone who needs help, you do for God. If you find somebody that needs food and feed them, then you have fed God. If you find someone who is thirsty and you give him drink, then you have provided for God. So in order to wash Jesus' feet this week, we don't necessarily literally need to get down on our hands and knees and wash someone's feet. In a normal situation, you could go into a hospital and help in the hospital for people who can't help themselves. But I know we're quarantined and things are kind of limited, but we can be intentionally thoughtful and selfless to other people. We don't know what kind of Monday they're having, or Tuesday. So when you go out this week and you're at the grocery store and there's someone behind you, let someone in front of you in the line. When you order food, tip big. That's going to be a blessing to somebody that really needs a blessing. And if you see somebody on the side of the road that needs food, feed him. And don't feed him like I'm doing something nice for you. Feed him like you are feeding a king. You are providing for God himself. This was Monday for Jesus on Holy Week. This is Holy Monday. Don't stop with today. Use this whole week to treat people like that, and you will be blessed. I'm going to try and bring a devotion every day for Holy Week. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.